Slavetown 2 was brutal in its disempowerment.
Right, slave. You are now my property. I paid a good price for you, and I expect to get value for money.
Slavetown 2 is not a sequel, despite the name. It's the signature project of someone who wanted to depict the brutal reality of slavery in Fallout New Vegas. The original mod was Slave Jail Reloaded, but through a few iterations it became Slavetown and then Slavetown 2. The mod engages in a quirk that Fallout had previously tried in the pit, putting the player in an enslaved position that is at odds with the power fantasy of the rest of the game. And the mod is more thorough than any other attempt at slavery that we have ever seen in any Fallout game. Have you heard of anything interesting happening hereabouts?
Well, that note on the bar there has something to say about some new criminals in town, but it looks like a load of lies to me.
Which note are you talking about?
That would be the one on the bar. Here, take a look. Bob presses the note into your hand.
The main quest starts with an NPC in the starting town nonchalantly pointing you towards a trap that enslaves the player when approached. You're then brutalized repeatedly as your humanity is forcibly stripped from you, you are auctioned off, and you are taken to the namesake slave town. Once there, your movement is constrained to the slave pens, where you are only allowed to leave to do manual labor of various kinds, such as mundane chores like moving stone debris, life-risking bouts of combat in the arena, or working as a farmhand in a literal plantation. It's not exactly fun, but it adds both challenge for the player and a valuable experience that seems to denounce slavery from the slave's perspective.
Lazy slaves get punished. It's time for a beating.
Come on. Ow. Fucking ow. Ow, 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 ow. One of the most contentious features of the mod is that the player is forced to slowly walk to and from every location under escort until they've gained the trust of the slavers. Honestly, we feel this enforced tedium only enhances the mundanity of the slave experience and serves to further brutalize the player. You aren't just physically brutalized, you're being brutalized psychologically as well, and it's kinda genius. However, this can really only be appreciated if you use a controller, as the keyboard controls can only make the player run or not run. It's a binary. There is no gradient, and so inevitably players were frustrated by the walking in a way that was more due to the limitation of PC controls and not in the way the mod probably intended. With that in mind, the walking is compromised in a way that makes the complaint somewhat legitimate. I'm gonna kill all you fucking assholes, I swear. Ugh. During the player's tenure as a slave, you are encouraged to participate in many evil acts that seem pointless and edgy, but by the end, to earn your freedom, the player will inevitably engage in many evil acts if they ever want to see the Mojave again. This plays into the psychological torment, as you are made complicit in many other slaves' deaths, or possibly worse. In so doing, the mod demonstrates a remarkable level of scripting that is unseen in most quest mods, making it a technical feat in its own right. So this would have been me fighting her. Oh, fuck. She got him too. Unfortunately, there are some pitfalls. While the mod clearly depicts slavery as an undesirable and detestable condition, its constant focus on despair comes off as a sort of revelry. The ending is clearly rushed, with only two possible exit paths from Slavetown. While unfinished mods aren't new, it is indicative that the authors were more keen on making the slave experience as opposed to anything that came after, and it is notable that the only keys to freedom are through gaining recognition and not revolution. So, while the mod is certainly nominally anti-slavery, it has biases we dub as inconsistent conservatism. To support this claim, we'd like to point out that the character nose fits an anti-Semitic stereotype almost to the letter, despite supposedly just being a nosy snitch. What do you think you're doing in here?
None of your business. Now scram if you don't want to have the attention of the guards.
It is very much my business. I'm here to teach you to keep out of Frank's business.
Then you'll get your neck broken.
In addition, there is a mission that involves a rich man injecting sex slaves with adrenochrome. While the mod predates fascist movements like QAnon, we feel it is emblematic of the authors dallying in right-wing conspiracy theory circles that have been obsessed with adrenochrome as a modern adaptation of the anti-Semitic myth of blood libel. Another complaint we have is that the choice made at the beginning regarding the player's skills determines almost everything about how the mod goes down. There are deviations to the route, but some options will simply never be present if you made the wrong choice 3 hours ago. While we understand making the player ignorant in this regard, it's simply frustrating to not be able to play all of the content the authors made, or at least be able to make an educated decision on the matter. That's why we don't have footage of the adrenochrome incident, because we couldn't figure out which option consistently takes you down that route. Regardless, we still enjoyed suffering through this mod, simply due to the expert execution of a simple idea, showing the tragedy of slavery, even if it came with some regrettable baggage.
That psycho in there is our current champion, Betty. If you're good enough, you'll fight her. If you're lucky, you might survive.
Oh, fuck. And so we give Slavetown 2 a 6 out of 10. A pretty good time.